get this video full screened, and please let me split the cameras. I'm going to do that. Not share screen. There we go. Okay, I am recording. I was just filling in this is the wrong screen. I was just filling in the rest of the divisional tracker for this week because we had a very interesting week. Do we just want to get into the headlines?
Here's one thing to pull it up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It is snowing here, by the way, so I might be in even more of a rush than I thought. Ideally, if we could be done by 10:30, that would be awesome.
I noticed that on the episode, my mic volume was really low, so I'm just going to go with the higher sensitivity, even if it gets a little bit of background.
Okay. Did you manage to download OBS?
No, I couldn't. I mean, I didn't try.
Okay.
I couldn't.
Yeah.
Somehow put me when I had free time.
No worries.
But I'm gonna try after we record today.
Okay. We are going to talk about. Did I remove the Puka headline or did you?
No, I mean, if you really wanted to talk, I removed it because I thought that the Rams defense was a much better Rams involved headline.
Yeah. I mean, I gave Puka NFC Player of the Week, so there's an excuse to talk about it anyway, or at least make reference to it.
And I thought it was more of a quick reference.
Yeah. All right.
Actual conversation.
All right. Are you ready to go?
Yeah, I'm on it. Did you put the picture of Burrow in?
Yes. Yeah. I was doing this while working at my dad's office yesterday. Because what better thing to get paid $15 for than to fix the spreadsheet and type in football-related words. So I didn't want to download the picture on that computer. That felt wrong. But I put it in this morning. So.
I am. Actually, no, I am not. Oh my god. Very, very. No, I thought I put in the pics last night after work, but.
I'm a little surprised you're sticking by Philadelphia at Buffalo. Oh, and I'm getting rid of Broncos Chiefs. I'm taking that out in favor of Raiders Giants.
Okay.
Where the fuck is Raiders Giants? There it is.
And then I'd say we can comfortably play Lions, Vikings.
Yeah, I mean, the Vikings are still very good. The NFC North is still easily the best division in football. We have a chance for all four of those teams to finish over 500. Although, interestingly, that would require a Vikings win this week, the Lions to beat the Bears, and the Vikings to beat the Packers next week. But it is possible on a technicality. What was the other? The other replacement option I had was Bears 49ers, which is a clash of two 11-win teams somehow.
Yeah, we can go with that.
Let's go ahead and
Yeah, I'm going to go Bears because I kind of have to go Bears. Because the Niners have the tiebreaker over the Rams, and now they have the same record.
See, I'm going to Bears because I believe in the Bears.
I also believe in the Bears.
I think Caleb Williams to DJ Moore is excising the demons of the Bears' entire franchise history. Did you see that the Chargers, if they win out and the Broncos lose out, can still clinch the AFC West? Because they already have tiebreaker over Denver. They beat them earlier in the year.
Yeah.
Although that does mean that Denver is win and clinch for the AFC West.
Yeah, Broncos beat no home. That was a good call on Tennessee last week.
I mean, it came about differently than I expected, but Patrick Mahomes has been holding that team together almost single-handedly. And once Minshew went down, they were already losing when Minshew went down. But once Minshew went down, it was over. It's going to be really, really, really hard to pick the Chiefs for the rest of this year. But I had the best week I think I'm ever going to have. Including Monday night, I went 13-3 last week, which is fucking insane.
Wow, yeah, that's really good.
You still went 10-6. Let me add that win in for both of us. Let's see. No, because you weren't over 100 wins last week, and I was just barely over 100. Jesus Christ, I am 39 games plus 500. And you?
No, when we were at about 162 games predicted, I was trying to think of if we would have made the MLB playoffs. Another record.
We've predicted 187 at this point, which is an impossibly high number.
I think my conclusion at the time is that we would have been a fringe wild card.
Yeah.
Because I mean the MLB playoffs are hard to get.
Yes, for a number of reasons. NFC North, who the fuck knows, really comes down to the last 3 games.
Like, I feel like if there was to be an upset this week, it would be the Browns and the Steelers.
That would be so fucking funny. It would be so fucking funny if the Steelers lost out. The Ravens won out.
Yeah, I was telling my family, like, you still have a chance. Myles Garrett could get 6 sacks against the Steelers.
I didn't think about that. Myles Garrett needs to break the record this week for no one to hold an asterisk over it. Because then it would be in 16 games. I think the Browns are going to keep that closer than they really have any right to, but I mean, the Steelers just beat the Lions. Like, maybe the Steelers could win a playoff game this year.
There's a whole lot of agreement. It's not going to be very entertaining week.
That is A-okay. Agreement means we get out of here faster. This is also kind of a shitty week of football. Like, next week, there's a bunch of divisional matchups that are also kind of shitty, but some of them are going to be high stakes. Like, Lions, Bears, depending on the results of each of those games this week, might get the Lions into the playoffs. I'm sorry? Niners Seahawks is going to be probably the Sunday night game. We're going to obviously have the rematch of Bucks Panthers. We're going to get Jags Colts V2, I think, which will probably decide that division. So there will be quality football next week. And then there will also be Rams Cardinals and Eagles Commies.
God, I need the Panthers to beat the Seahawks. Wow.
Joe Davis is on the call, and apparently home teams perform outsizedly well when Joe Davis is on the call. So, a little bit of announcer analytics for you there. We've talked about it all year. They are the ultimate trap team.
I think that this week is going to be if the Falcons put up. I'll say if the Falcons put up 3 touchdowns, I will then start to be concerned about their end problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're good.
All right.
I just went on that last week. All right. I'm good.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Any Given Sunday Headlines Edition for Week 17. We have quite a few headlines for you this week, some of which we will make passing mention to throughout the course of the episode, and one of which I personally am very excited about. The Eagles have become the first repeat NFC East winner since the 01 to 04 Andy Reid, Donovan McNabb Philadelphia Eagles. That is insane. The division curse is finally lifted. Shout out to Joe Biden, who was in attendance for Eagles Raiders and snapped them out of their slide. Since then, the Eagles have scored 60 and allowed 18. So, shout out to Joe Biden. Thank you for saving the Eagles season. Thank you for allowing us to actually clinch this division. And I think we all kind of expected this weeks ago. We were talking when the Eagles were 8-2 about how they could have clinched it by the end of Black Friday. Here we are, headed into Christmas week. Oops. But hey, they finally got it done, and that's all that matters.
Friday mark. Didn't quite hit that Black Friday mark, but nonetheless, a Division 1 is a Division 1.
And it's the first division to be clinched this year. The Eagles were not the first team to clinch a playoff spot. That happened last week. But in between last week and this week, 7 additional teams clinched a playoff spot, including total 5 teams between the NFC and the AFC West. 3 in the NFC West clinched, and 2 in the AFC West have clinched playoff spots. And I'm just going to ask the question, is the Western region of football the best in the NFL right now?
Right now in the NFL, you just kind of have to say yes. I mean, between the AFC and the NFC West, there are 5 teams right now between those 2 divisions that have 11 or more wins. With each, I believe, each of those 12-win teams that those have are the 1 seed in each conference. So, I mean, right now you just kind of have to say, yeah, this season the West division, the West side of the country just kind of has it locked down, and really just are the powerhouses in the NFL right now.
I mean, it is truly incredible that all 5 of those teams that have clinched playoff berths already have 11-plus wins. How concerned are you as a Rams fan coming off of that Thursday game? And we will talk about the Rams defense in a minute. But how concerned are you as a Rams fan about the strength of the NFC West specifically?
It's always a concern. I mean, it truly kind of has been one of the most competitive divisions in football over the last 8 years. It just constantly, it feels like there are 2 or 3 teams in the playoffs. And it's a tough division to be in. It scares me that the 49ers are an 11-win team right now, and that they are currently the NFC's 5th seed.
6.
6. Who's the other wild card team ahead?
The wild card team ahead of them should be Green Bay, unless the standings shifted this week.
No, there isn't.
So they're the 5 seed.
San Francisco's 5, LA is 6, Green Bay is
7. God damn.
And it's a tough division to be in. When there are three teams in the division that could be leading any of the other three divisions in the NFC. It concerns me a little bit. So at this point, I'm just hoping that the right things happen. The right teams lose when they need to lose, and the right teams win when they need to win. That will hopefully give the Rams a guaranteed home field advantage throughout the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, the Rams could still clinch the division. It would require what? Would it require the Seahawks to lose out and the Rams to win out, and also the Niners to lose one of two?
Yeah.
Okay, so the Rams would have to win out, the Niners have to lose one of two, and the Seahawks have to lose out, which includes a loss to the Niners, which means we have to be rooting for, or you specifically have to be rooting for them to lose to the Bears this week. Which I believe is the Sunday night game. Maybe the most deserved Sunday night game of the season. That being said, the Rams defense specifically, I called attention to this a little bit last week in a passing mention when I was talking about the Rams in general, or when I was talking about the Lions in general. It is now 3 of the last 4 games that the Rams defense has given up 30-plus points. And yes, the Lions are spectacular offense. The Seahawks are a spectacular offense. But it got kickstarted with the Panthers. And I got to know how concerned you are heading into the playoffs, where we all know the old adage, defense wins championships. How concerned are you about the state of the Rams defense headed into the playoffs?
I'm a little bit concerned about the state of the entire defense, but it's more the secondary. Because if you look at the last 3 games that they let up 30-plus points, it really has been because of the passing defense and the coverage. And I think that shows the result of losing an unsung hero in Quentin Lake for the season. Quentin Lake is, if all of you guys don't know, Quentin Lake is the kind of plays like Kyle Hamilton-ish role for the Rams on defense. And he is able to hold down a lot of tight ends, a lot of slot receivers. He is an elite presence in pass coverage. And losing that is going to really hurt, because what the Rams have been doing as of late that they didn't do nearly as much in the season is they are running a lot more straight man, and they are getting beat by quick receivers running across the field. And when you're letting up quick plays and huge splash plays that lead to quick touchdowns, it is really, really difficult to win football games. On Thursday night, the Rams had 39 minutes of possession in the game. And it is really difficult to lose a game or allow 38 points, granted with overtime, 38 points while you dominate time of possession. And that's just because when the Seahawks did score, it was off of 6-play drives. And just frankly, especially when it comes to when the season's on the line in the playoffs, you cannot let those plays happen. So this defense is concerning for me right now. I will be watching it to see if it can kind of return to the dominance it showed early in the season against the Seahawks, against the Falcons this week and the Cardinals next week. But if they don't, then it'll really, really be concerning going into the playoffs.
Well, and thankfully there is a little bit of reprieve in the final 2 games of the season here, but I honestly don't know if that's better or worse. The Falcons' offense can be explosive, but ultimately, honestly, they're performing better with Kirk than they did with Michael Penix, which is not something I would have guessed. But the Cardinals certainly are not going to put up 30 points on the Rams in Week 18 unless the Rams have benched their starters because they're locked into seeding. And even then, it's the fucking Cardinals. It is difficult for me as an outside observer to understand. It's difficult for us as outside observers to understand exactly what's going on in LA. There could be a micro scheme adjustment. It could just be that Quentin Lake is hurt. But I can't help but feel like, to an extent, in the second half of the Week 3 game, Philadelphia showed that you can beat the Rams defense deep through the air. And that you can't really run on them, which is why Seattle's offense isn't terribly effective against LA. But you can have success throwing the ball, which is what Seattle ended up finding, granted with help from Rashid Shaheed. But once Darnold settled down and stopped shitting his pants, 2 scoring drives, 16 points, that's a recipe for success. 18 points if you want to include the 2-point conversion they had to score after Shaheed scored. And the Seahawks defense is a problem. Obviously, they also gave up 30 plus. They gave up, 37? And that was all on them because there were no Rams returns for scores. But I, for one, am really looking forward to the rematch, the almost inevitable rematch, it seems, between these two teams in the playoffs, especially if one of them claims the division.
Yeah, the only way I can see these two teams not playing the playoffs is if the Niners knock one of them out first. Because obviously the Rams, Seahawks have been the conversation of the NFC West this season, but we cannot sleep on the San Francisco 49ers, especially after the performance that Brock Purdy had last night in Monday Night Football. The NFC West is dangerous.
Yeah.
And any 3 of these teams, it feels like, can go out, go on a run, and obliterate the other teams while doing it. So it's going to be an exciting playoff for sure.
Well, and the only other question I have for you is, looking at the playoff field as it currently stands, with Seattle in the 1, Chicago in the 2, Philly in the 3, and the NFC South winner in the 4, currently the Panthers. And then the Niners at 5, you guys at 6, and Green Bay at 7. Where do you want to fit into that? It's unlikely, if not impossible, for you guys to slip below 6, right? It would require Green Bay winning out and you guys losing out. And even then, no, Green Bay would have you on record because of the tie. But it would require Green Bay winning out and you guys losing out, which is not terribly likely, I don't think.
If we lose out to the Falcons and Cardinals, the season might as well be over right there.
Yeah, that would be very reminiscent of the 2023 Eagles almost. Which thankfully the 2025 Eagles seem to have avoided, at least for the moment. But because I know who I want in the first round of the playoffs. If I can help it, if I have any say over it, I would fucking love to get the Niners in the first round of the playoffs. Because they're the only team in the field other than Seattle that we don't have experience with this year.
Because my thought process goes like this: it's most likely Carolina's division, but that's going to be dependent on the Week 18 matchup between Carolina and Tampa Bay. I believe unless Carolina wins this week and Tampa Bay loses,
yes.
If that happens, Carolina clinches. And under the scenario, I don't know if I want to go to Carolina because we've seen what they can do. We've seen what they can do to top dogs coming to their house. They are the ultimate trap team this season, and they've won so many trap games that they have a winning record and are currently on top of their division.
Now, I have to ask you, because the Panthers are at home this week against another NFC West opponent. Are you foreshadowing what I think you're foreshadowing?
I'm saying it could be possible that the Panthers in the late January.
So
it's a possibility. Not saying it'll happen, but they might be the biggest NFC dark horse this year.
So if you don't want to travel to Carolina, which I understand because you've already lost at Carolina once, your next closest option is to travel to Philadelphia, where you've also already lost this season, and a team that
I might prefer that just because of the experience and particularly the experience losing to the Eagles over the last couple of years. This team wants a win. They want a win in Philly, and if they see Philadelphia is on their matchup for Week 1 as the playoff, it might might light a fire under this entire team that we had in the season before.
Depending on how the next 2 weeks of the season go, I might be comfortable declaring the Eagles of the winner of Eagles Rams to be the likely Super Bowl representative for the NFC, if not Super Bowl champion from the NFC.
They're very well for that.
Look, obviously our last 2 games have come against the Raiders and the Commanders, and we have to see how the Eagles play against the Bills. But if the Eagles' offense and defense can continue the run that they are on over the last 2 weeks against Buffalo, at Buffalo, then between weeks 18 and the wild card round of the playoffs, actually this is already true because we clinched the division, between week 18 and the wild card round of the playoffs will be the first time the Eagles have had back-to-back home games all year. And we talked about that a couple weeks ago, and we've talked about it over the course of the season. I'm fucking sick of this shit. We get back-to-back road games against the Commanders and the Bills, both of whom were supposed to be much tougher opponents than they have been so far through this season, coming into the year. Not to disrespect the Bills, they could still win the East, although they have to go through us first. But, oh boy, I want no part of LA in the first round. I want to make that very clear. I want no part of the Rams. I want no part of the Seahawks. I want no part of the Packers. Thankfully, I don't have to worry about the Panthers because they will have their own home game, and if I have to deal with them, it will probably be at Lincoln Financial Field. But we're in a position where we're looking at very likely divisional matchups in a couple of key areas in the playoffs, right? And I don't know if the NFC West is locked into the 1 seed already, but if Chicago wins out and Seattle loses out and the Rams split and the Niners split, I think the Bears can get the 1 seed, which would lead to... hang on, let me think about that. Which would lead to
the Chicago is the only non-NFC West team that has a chance at the 1 seed. I believe Seattle doesn't currently have conference record over Bill.
But Philly can't get the record necessary. Philly can't get to... Philly can get to 12 wins, but they can't... I don't know why Philly's been eliminated from the 1 seed, but I know they have.
Then it's only Chicago. And they've got to win out. And then Seattle has to lose out. And while Seattle loses out, you can't have San Francisco or LA win out.
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff has to go down for Chicago to be the 1 seed. So it will most likely be the top of the NFC.
But even so, we're looking at a potential 7-2 matchup between Green Bay and Chicago, which would be the 3rd time this year we've gotten Green Bay Chicago, and the 2nd time we've gotten it in Chicago.
That might be the best 7th seed or 2nd seed that I can remember in the playoffs. I mean, if we get Chicago, Green Bay for 7th seed for 2nd seed and wild card weekend, I'll be very, very happy.
You know what's very interesting though? It'll be the 3rd consecutive year, I believe, that Green Bay will have locked themselves into the 7th seed, which is something I called attention to. Which is something I called attention to in the scripted video I released before the season, called "Why Your Team Will Not Win the Super Bowl." I mean, it's certainly very interesting that the 7 seed came into existence. The Chicago Bears clinched it, and then immediately after that, Green Bay was like, "No, the 7 seed is ours," and they beat Dallas, and then they lost to Philadelphia, and now they're going to probably have a divisional matchup against an opponent they match up very favorably with. And then, who knows if the Niners can go to Carolina and win, or if the Rams can go to Philadelphia and win. But we're setting up for one of the best wild card weekends in recent memory. And I fear that the divisional round and the conference championships won't be able to live up to the standard that Wild Card Weekend has the potential to set.
Maybe. I mean, this playoff race in the NFC is really, really, really exciting for me. I love all the teams that are going to be in it. Well, I mean, I love watching all of them that are going to be in it. I'll take that. But yeah, I'm really, really excited for this playoff race.
And with that, we should move to our weekly awards. Unk still got it. We gave this man Chart of the Week last week. I actually flipped this between yesterday and today because of the Monday night game. Phillip Rivers, have yourself a day. This is a combination of the stats he put up and the tape watching because, oh my god, did he look so much fucking better this week than he did last week. The result ultimately was the same. They lost last week, they lost this week, but 23 of 35, 277 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Phillip Rivers, 44 years old, came off the couch a couple weeks ago, and apparently still has it. So,
well, he thought Stafford was about to overtake him in the all-time passing yards. He said, "Nah, I'm coming out of retirement. Put a ball in my hands. Let me extend my record just a little bit." So congrats to Phillip Rivers for slinging it at 44 years old.
And
Brady was when he retired.
Yes, and that was the age that Brady finally retired at. And he didn't even take a full year off. He decided to retire and then said, "Nah, fuck that." Actually. Our big man of the week, you can call me biased if you want, but if you watched the Eagles Commanders game, this guy was all over the fucking field. It's not the first time he's won it. It may not be the last. Jordan Davis, come on down. 6 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, a bunch of pressures, a bunch of hurries. Just an outstanding game for the D tackle in the middle of easily the best season of his career. I am really, really excited that Jordan Davis is going to get to stay in Philadelphia. We will inevitably sign him to a contract extension. I'm a little pissed he had a breakout year in a contract year because now we probably have to pay him a lot more than we otherwise would have. And this offseason, we also gained the ability to pay Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith while still having to deal with Reed Blankenship and Nakobe Dean. So lots of Georgia players will be getting extensions this offseason, if I had to guess. And I will let you take our NFC Player of the Week because he earned it on the field, but off the field, my God, what a week.
In the middle of a PR nightmare for Puka Nacua. I mean, going on stream, I don't like the look. I really don't like either of the streamers that he went on a live stream with. And I don't like that. I don't like him being, with that company and being that public, which is, I'm not uncommon to think that. It's not a great look. There are a lot of talks about him being unfocused and being distracted this week for Thursday Night Football. And Sean McVay's response was that his performance looked distracting. And the obvious answer is a no. I mean, Puka Nacua absolutely had a monstrous Thursday night game, had 12 catches, 225 yards, 2 touchdowns, including a big, I believe it was a 30-yard touchdown in overtime. Unfortunately, didn't get the win, but he did give the Rams the lead at the end of the game. So what a week for Puka Nacua.
I feel like every day last week there was a negative Puka Nacua headline leading up to Thursday Night Football, and then he dropped 12 for 225 and 2. I have this guy on my fantasy team, by the way. He's like in my paid league. I'm out of the fantasy football playoffs, but I have him rostered so no one else can. He dropped 40 points for a team that's not in the fucking playoffs. Oh,
this,
boy.
This put him within 40 yards of Jackson Smith and Jason.
That's fucking crazy.
He has been sneaking up week by week, but now he's only 40 yards behind JSN and on 100 less offensive snaps played.
That's insane.
So this receiving crown is going to be a lot tougher, a lot closer than I think a lot of people thought it was a few weeks ago when JSN had like a 300-yard lead or something like that. But so we'll see who ends up with the receiving crown at the end of the season. And on to a repeat AFC Player of the Week. We've got Prince Charming, Trevor Lawrence, yet again, with another really, really, really great game. I mean, I haven't not been the biggest Trevor Lawrence supporter since he came into the NFL, but over the last 3 weeks, he has shut me up. This week, he came in with 23 completions on 36 attempts for 299 yards and 4 touchdowns.
And I should stress that those are total yards and total touchdowns. I just folded his rushing production in. It only added 20 yards, but it did add an extra touchdown. I said it last week. I'll say it again this week. Trevor Lawrence is finally showing everybody what we saw at Clemson. And it only took 6 fucking years, Trevor, so thanks for that. Thank you for making me believe in you all this time and finally paying that off with a win in Denver over the AFC 1 seed. That is huge. And it's almost impossible to overstate how big this performance from Trevor Lawrence was. Almost impossible to overstate how big this performance from the Jaguars was. As soon as they wrapped up that game, and you can vouch for this, I texted you and said, we might have underestimated the Jaguars. Not we might have overestimated the Broncos, but we might have underestimated the Jaguars. I fear we are having technical issues. Let me make sure. Yeah, everything's still recording over here, so that's good. Did your headphones die? Open Discord on my phone.
I know you can. I can't hear you, by the way, which is like I lost audio.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to figure that out. All right, say something.
Hello.
I don't know what that was. My bad if you were in the middle. My bad if you were in the middle of a anecdote.
No, it's okay. I just we'll leave this in for the VOD watchers, but obviously we'll cut around this. But all I said was you can vouch for this. I texted you after that game. We might have underestimated the Jaguars, not overestimated the Broncos, but underestimated the Jaguars.
Yeah, and honestly, my only concern with the Jaguars is that might have been their best game of the season. And I only said that's a concern because when you're playing against tough teams and really, really good teams, you want your best performances against them to be in January. Because when you're in the kind of dynamic that I noticed between a lot of powerhouse teams is that when they lose to a team early in the season and then they play them again in the playoffs, there's a much higher chance of them winning that second game. And it's switching, the winner switching. Which is my only concern for the Jaguars, but if they play the Broncos in the playoffs and they win again, this Jaguars offense might just have the secret formula to beating that Broncos defense.
Well, and I mean, Bo Nix did not have the best day, obviously, but it really is about beating the Broncos' defense, and hard to argue with almost 300 total yards and 4 total touchdowns as a good way to do that. Coach of the week. I was caught between giving it to Liam Cohen for a huge upset over Denver late in the year. But ultimately, I have to shout out my guy down in Carolina. Dave Canales landed a critical late season win over Tampa Bay, putting the Panthers in first place in the NFC South. It feels worth mentioning that if they had just beaten the fucking Saints, whose jersey I am repping, they'd be up by 3. They would have already clinched the South, actually, and would be fighting for the 3 seed with the Eagles. Did not work out that way for Carolina. I think the Saints are going to be a lot of fun next year. I think I've said that a lot of times over the last couple of weeks, and I've meant it every time I've said it. But Dave Canales, Coach of the Week, hell of a coaching performance. Liam Cohen got so close. Don't tell me you're having more audio issues.
I don't get it. All right, I got it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why it's like it's not a it's something with Discord and it like unrecognizing my headphones for some.
All right.
That should be good enough. Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
How's it going?
And our final award, Chart of the Week, I'm going to let you take this one because you always have wonderful pros for the charts. Joe Burrow, huge bounce back performance. Teams that get shut out are now 2-1 in their following game. The Raiders only lost by 2 as well in what was easily their best showing of the year. So I'm going to let you take it away on Joe Burrow's chart.
I mean, Joe Burrow, it'll be up on screen, and if you guys look at this, I mean, you see a lot of green, not a whole lot of white, no red. With a nice little even distribution, it kind of looks like you got a little mountain building from that close right side up onto the middle left side of the field range. I mean, this is just pretty sharp. You love to see it. The 2 touchdowns on the right sideline, the deep touchdown in the middle of the field, and the touchdown on the left sideline. I mean, just a really pretty distribution of the football. And this is the kind of chart that you just look at and can just understand that he had a really good game and spread the ball out a lot.
And
so with Joe Burrow for winning our chart of the week yet again. With 2 times in his 3 weeks back from injury. So it's good to see rolling Joe Burrow. I can't wait to see you in a Rams jersey next season. I don't know, 8 years after that.
That will just about do it for the headlines. I just want to call attention to our weekly and yearly records. We agreed on 11 games last week and did a season best 9-2 on the games we agreed on. That left 5 games that we disagreed on, and unfortunately, recent trends have prevailed. I went 4-1 in the games we disagreed on. The only one I picked incorrectly was the Dolphins. I did not know when we recorded the episode that Quinn Ewers would be starting. Hook'em, by the way. Shout out to the Texas Longhorns. Quinn Ewers was kind of asked for them too, but he led them to the college football playoffs. And if this win showed anything for Cincinnati, it's that the NFL is a lot harder than college, and Quinn Ewers might have learned that the hard way. That being said, I went 13-3 on this week, bringing my overall record to 114-75. You went still a very respectable 10-6 on the week. Those are both NFL playoff teams. And you worked your way into the plus 20 territory. You are 107-83. You are plus 24 on the year. I am plus 39. And that will just about do it for our headlines. Everything should be linked down in the description below, unless I was bad at my job. That is our Instagram, our TikTok, our Twitter. I forgot what it was called for a second. And as always, our episode of the podcast will be out after this. The VOD should already be up. Again, unless I'm bad at my job, but the what's it called? The podcast should go up tomorrow, which is Christmas. Merry Christmas, everybody. This should go up on Christmas Eve, so for all those celebrating tonight, why are you watching this today? You could have waited until tomorrow when the pod came out. But Merry Christmas nonetheless. Happy Hanukkah to those who celebrate that. And we will see you all next week. Start recording. Okay. I like having segmented video clips to know which one's the headlines and which one.
Yeah, I'm assuming you don't have to go through it and find where we can stop and stare at the camera for a second.
No. I honestly, OBS is a much friendlier recording software than the actual cameras are. Because instead of having to physically get up or employ 3 camera people to stop the cameras and stop the audio, I can just hit the button twice and it stops and starts the recording. So that is very nice.
How are we looking on time? I know that we definitely took more time on that than what's ideal.
Yeah, don't feel too pressured to rush yourself, but if we can get through this in about 45 minutes, I'd love that. We agree on most of the non-circled games anyway. Actually, looking at it, we agree on all but one of the non-circled games anyway. Holy shit, we agree on every game this week except Seahawks.
And it's only because it's trap game.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm putting my money on the trap.
Yeah, alright. Well, in that case, this is probably going to be a shorter episode just by nature anyway. But we can take our time on the circled games and then just rifle through the rest. So, whenever you want to kickstart us, I am ready.
Welcome to Any Given Sunday, week 17 in the 2025 NFL season. It is Christmas week, so happy holidays, happy Kwanzaa, happy Hanukkah, happy Christmas, Merry Christmas to everyone celebrating this week. And we don't have the most exciting slate of football this week. Last week and next week will probably be a little bit more exciting. Just a lot of one-sided games in this one. But let's just get kicked off with definitely not as much of a one-sided game. We've got the Eagles going into the frigid Buffalo, playing the Bills at home, playing the Bills at their home. What are your thoughts for this one?
Rain, sleet, or snow, the Eagles train to go, baby. The Eagles have shown me a lot over the last 2 weeks. Yes, against lesser opponents and the Raiders and the Commanders. But I anticipate a very fucking cold game against Buffalo. I anticipate an incredibly tough matchup. But the Eagles, in my opinion, match up really well against the Bills. Because the Bills' strengths don't come from throwing the football. And the Eagles, by the way, have the number 1 pass defense in the NFL. But we've seen at times this year, elite receivers and elite quarterbacks can just torch the shit out of the Eagles secondary. We don't really have to worry about that against Buffalo. They have an elite quarterback, but oh my god, is their receiver room a mess. The biggest concern is James Cook. And I think that we can take care of James Cook. I trust Jordan Davis, a 3 or 4 time Big Man of the Week winner. Jordan Davis. He is spectacular. He is especially spectacular against the run. I trust our linebackers, which is something a lot of Eagles fans never thought they'd be able to say after Jeremiah Trotter Sr. retired. But I have the Eagles winning this one 24-21. I think that no matter what the result of this game is, it's going to tell us a lot about both of these teams and their odds in the playoffs. And dare I say, it's a potential Super Bowl preview.
It very much so could be. I think right now both these teams are a little bit more of not a dark horse, but an underdog candidate to make the Super Bowl. But I think you hit the nail on the head. I think the key to this game for Philly is shutting down James Conner. And I think the Eagles have the personnel and the defensive coaching to do that. The Eagles have a phenomenal run defense. Jordan Davis, as we talked about, as you just mentioned, and who we've mentioned numerous times as the big man of the league across the NFL. The Eagles have the personnel and the coaching to do this, and I think they will. We both see this game going similarly, and I think the Eagles are probably going to take this one 24-20. And honestly, I think if it snows, it might favor the Eagles.
Well, I honestly think that the snow does not favor either of these teams particularly more than the other. Saquon had his first true Saquon performance of the year last week rather. 21 carries, 132 yards, and a score. Included one of the worst blocks I've ever seen by Cam Jurgens, producing one of the most beautiful spin moves in the backfield I've ever seen by Saquon, and a much better downfield block by Jurgens. But yeah, absolutely.
That's a coaching. That is a culture thing. That is, you miss the first one, okay, go on the field and take somebody else out of the play.
I honestly think that if it snows in Buffalo this weekend, it might favor Buffalo more because they are much more of a run-first team this year than Philadelphia. Philly ran their most empty sets of the year last week against the Commanders, and holy shit, the offense actually looked functional. Who would have guessed if you run out of empty and you let A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith run over the middle of the field every once in a while, the offense might actually look good. Jake Elliott needs to be put out to pasture. His career is over, and it kills me to say that. He is perfect, literally perfect in the Super Bowl on field goals. Although very funnily, he has missed an extra point. But it's time for Jake Elliott to go. I would certainly at least appreciate the Eagles bringing in competition for him in the offseason. I think it's too late in the regular season for us to find a decent kicker to replace him with. But we both expect Eagles wins. We both expect pretty similar Eagles wins, it seems. And I think that at the end of the day, between these two teams, if I have to trust one of them to gut it out and find a way to win, it's going to be Philadelphia.
I'm right there in agreement with you. There's not much more to say about that one other than that. But, we'll see what happens in Buffalo. And on to a big one for NFC seeding. Not necessarily making the playoffs or not, but a huge game for seeding. We've got the Chicago Bears going into San Francisco. I am absolutely on a hate watch in this game. I do not want the 49ers to win. The 49ers are currently the 5 seed in the NFC, and the Bears are currently the 2nd seed in the NFC. And if the Bears want a first-round bye, which is possible, they're going to need to win this game, and it's going to be a tough game to win.
It is, but I think my support in the Chicago Bears has never wavered this season. I may have picked against them a couple times when I thought that they were truly outmatched, but my support for them has never wavered. You've been a little more force them to show me consistency before I'll believe in them. Yes, this game is in Santa Clara, but the Bears are coming off perhaps the statement win of all statement wins. It's much harder to bet against a team that just recovered an onside kick and threw a 41-yard dagger to kill their biggest op of the last century. It's hard to pick against that team the following week. And San Francisco has shown some incredible performance over the last couple of weeks. They have a very tough end to the season with Chicago, and then they get to home games both times, which is a fucking miracle. They get at home against the Bears and then at home against Seattle to close out the year. Those are 2 incredibly tough games. I don't see them winning both. They might lose both, but they're not going to win both. And I have Chicago winning this week 31-28. I think it's probably either a game-winning field goal or another game-winning touchdown pass from Caleb Williams, whose stats have been pedestrian, but oh my God, is the film eye-popping.
He really just has been improving, it feels like, every single week, which is what you want to see out of your young QB and out of any young player. But speaking of the Packers-Bears game last week, did you see Caleb Williams, the picture of Caleb Williams with the speed grader on his head?
Did you know that DJ Moore wore it first while being handed the game ball?
I do. I love rivalry stuff like that. Yeah, the Packers-Bears game last week was pure cinema. And I'm expecting this week to be another really great game. I've also got the Bears winning it. I think they're going to win it 31-30. The 49ers offense looked lethal with Brock Purdy coming back last night. And I'm expecting a similar level of performance from that offense.
And from two, honestly, potential games of the week to maybe the game of the season. I mean, we talked about this week having like a really weak slate, but I don't know about you, man. I'm hype as shit for this game. We have, interestingly, both picked against the home team, despite a very strong performance from them this past week against a vastly superior opponent. The game of the year is going to be Giants-Raiders. And I mean that completely unironically. This game might end 6-3. And it would still be the greatest fucking game of football anyone's ever watched. For those of you who...
If you guys watched the last week, we mentioned a tank bowl game for this week, and this is that game. The loser of the Giants-Raiders game will likely have the first football.
It would be incredibly difficult for anyone else to snag it. The Jets, Titans, Browns, and Cardinals all have 3 wins. And whoever wins this week will join them. The Giants get the Cowboys in Week 18, who are a vastly superior team. And the Raiders might get the Chiefs, which is very funny, actually, for a Week 18 game. So, honestly, maybe another potential cinema game next week. But this game will decide who has the first overall pick. Now, there are 2 different ways to look at who wins this game, right? There's who scores more points than the other, and who comes out of it more likely to get the number 1 overall pick. And I think the Giants are more likely to put more points on the board. And that is really good for me personally. Because the Giants don't need the first overall pick. And I don't really want them trading out of the first overall pick to make sure that they are set up into the future. I would love for the Giants to have the second overall pick and just grab Carnell Tate. I'd love for the Raiders to not kill Fernando Mendoza, but actually help him, which would be nice.
We can have our dreams and our prayers, but when it comes to the Raiders not letting the quarterback die in their backfield, I don't think historically they've shown to be very great at that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I've got the Giants winning this game 24-18. I've just got more confidence in the life, or strangely, I have more confidence in the life of the Giants offense than the Raiders. Geno Smith might be the worst quarterback of all time.
It's really bad. I have the Giants winning 18-13 because I refuse to believe that in a game of this magnitude, either team will score more than 20 points. It probably will happen. The Giants score 20 points or more when Jackson Dart plays a lot. But I really don't want it to happen. I'd love for this game to end 6-3. I think I already said that, but oh my god, it would just be...
It would be really funny.
It would be so fucking funny if this game ended 10-3 or like 6-3. Make it happen, guys, please. Bench all your starters. Just let the backups go at it. That does it.
Why not just sign a roster full of UFL players and let
honestly, one of them signs a roster of the UFL All-Stars. One of them signs a roster of the CFL All-Stars. And they have to battle to the death to find out which league is better.
That would be funny.
That will do it for our circled games. Our first game in the rest is Texans at Chargers, which is arguably more deserving to be a circled game than Giants Raiders. We both have the Texans winning this one, albeit in different fashion. Tell me what you see going down in LA between Houston and the Chargers.
So to me, this game feels like both of these defenses. One, I want to say both of these defenses are really, really good. Both of these defenses are very dominant. Although the Texans defense is a little bit better than the Chargers defense, and the Texans offense is a little bit better than the Chargers offense. I have this one. I think that the Texans are going to win it 20-17, but I could also see it 24-17. I could see it 28-17. But either way, I don't think that the Chargers are going to be able to put a 20 in this one just because of how dominant that Texans defense is.
And, I mean, as dominant as the Texans defense has been, just to play a little bit of devil's advocate, they did just give up 23 to the Raiders. So there's that.
Every great team, every great unit has their bad games, and we just haven't seen kind of poor performances like that consistently from the Texans.
Excuse me. I have the Texans winning 28-24. I think that they are the better team. I'm rooting for the Chargers personally because I think the best matchup that the Texans can get in round one is at New England, and I don't anticipate the Patriots to lose another game, honestly, for the rest of the season. I see them as a pretty easy 13-win team. We'll talk about them in a second in a game that we will not spend much time on. In fact, the phrase, we're not going to spend much time on this game, is going to be very widely used this week.
Yeah. I mean, and just a quick note, and just something to note with the Texans Chargers game, if the Texans win, they clinch, I believe, the last wild card spot in the AFC. It puts them at 11-5 on the year. If they do win, which the only other competitor for a wild card spot is the Indianapolis Colts, who fell to 8-7 last night.
Yeah, and that would put the Texans at 11 wins, which would mathematically eliminate the Colts. On to the first game that we're not going to spend a ton of time on. The Chiefs have now had their top two quarterbacks suffer ACL tears, season-ending injuries, and they play the Broncos this week. So I'm just going to say Broncos 31-6 and move on with my life.
Yeah, I mean, I've got unfortunately for the Chiefs, the season is already bad. They're getting the draw.
Oh, fuck.
And a Bo Nix that's looking to redeem himself from last week's performance. Unfortunately, the Chiefs are going to be on the receiving end of that punishment. I haven't got the Broncos considered.
And a second consecutive game that we will not spend a ton of time on. Bucks at Dolphins. The Dolphins presumably will either start Quinn Ewers again or Zach Wilson. And in either case, the Buccaneers are a better team than that. I have the Bucks winning 21-17, which is honestly a reflection on the Bucks more than it is on the Dolphins. Yay, the Buccaneers are going to win this week.
I think I'm pretty speaking in agreement for a lot of people that the Buccaneers have been a little bit disappointing this season, especially after the start they had. But this one, at this point, the Buccaneers are playing for pride and a chance at a probably round one exit playoff berth.
Almost certainly.
I did not think I would say this, but I think I would rather see the Panthers in the playoffs than the Bucs.
Yeah.
My God. But not much to say about this game. I've got the Bucs winning 24-21, and if they don't, then Buffalo is tactics.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I've got Bucks 21-17. This game we actually can spend a little bit of time on, which is a nice little treat in the middle of a week of shit. Um, we've got Ravens at Packers. The Ravens are a Steeler win or a Raven loss away from being eliminated from the playoffs, and unfortunately, I do think that happens here. I think we solidify the AFC playoff picture this week with nothing
Yeah.
but seeding left to be fought for next week. I anticipate or the Packers rather winning at home 24-17. And I gotta be honest, it kind of doesn't matter whether each of those teams' starting quarterbacks are healthy. I'd love to see Jordan Love versus Lamar Jackson, which is certainly how this game was billed at the start of the season. But Malik Willis put on some pretty good tape against one of the better defenses in the league in Chicago last week. And I'd kind of like him to get a chance to audition for a team that needs a quarterback. Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
that team in New Jersey that wears green.
Like Malik Rose, probably a little bit more than a lot of people did coming out of college. And honestly, it was coming under Jordan Love may have been a good thing for him. And if he can go out and put together good performance that he plays, then he could find himself in starting position somewhere next year. But with that, the Ravens are fighting for their life.
Yes.
They've got to win out against a tough Packers team in Green Bay. Even if they have Lamar and the Packers don't have Jordan Love, this is still not going to be an easy one for the Baltimore Ravens. The Packers defense is a very well-rounded unit, and the offense can still find ways to score and move down the field without Jordan Love. I've got the Packers winning it in a close 121.
Yeah. And I think that and 24-17 are both very reasonable scores, no matter who plays in this one or who doesn't. We might see higher scoring if both of the starting quarterbacks are in, but I want to spend a little bit more time on this game before we have to extend to 3 games in a row that we are not going to spend much time talking about. So I will consider this that, and now Patriots at Jets. I have Patriots 42-12, and that might be generous to the Brady Cook led Jets.
Yeah, I've got the Patriots 30-10. It's the Patriots Jets.
It's Patriots Jets.
It's a really good team this year against a really bad.
It's a historical big brother and a historical little brother. And historical big brother has the upper hand, as they do in the next matchup that we are not going to spend a ton of time on. Steelers at Browns. I have the Steelers winning 24-18. The Browns have shown life, both offensively and defensively. And I am personally really rooting for Myles Garrett to break the sack record this week because I don't want to have to put an asterisk next to it because it came in the 17-game season. But that being said, I don't think it's going to matter. Offense, defense, the Steelers have shown that they are capable of hanging with the best of the teams in the league. You froze for me. I'm so sorry. I did not realize you were talking.
No, you're good. You froze for me. I thought that you were done. I thought you were done talking.
I have the Steelers 24-18, and that's all I really have to say about that.
Yeah, I got the 2-17, and I'm secretly hoping for a Cleveland win. And I think that if Cleveland does have a chance to win and keep the Ravens playoff hopes alive, it comes from a 6-sack Myles Garrett game. And like, I see that if the Browns do win, it will be by putting the Steelers in a defensive chokehold.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to happen to the degree that it needs to happen. No. But I've got the Steelers winning it 20-17. You got the Steelers winning it 24-18. And on to another one. Not too much to say, but we've got the Cardinals playing the Cincinnati Bengals. I've got the Bengals winning it 35-27, and that's 27 for the Cardinals.
Yeah, I just changed my score for this one. I know the Bengals defense is awful, but oh my god, the Cardinals offense might actually be worse. So I have the Bengals winning 28-15. I expect another Joe Burrow gem. We are in the stretch of the season where I expected Joe Burrow to be back. When I said to you weeks ago that the Bengals would go 3-0 in this stretch to end the season, and Bengals fans would have an off season full of pretending that they could have competed this year if only Joe Burrow had stayed healthy. Um,
And I mean, if you're a Bengals fan, that's been the story. That has been the story, and that excuse starts to run out.
and who knows? Maybe you won't even have Joe Burrow next year because he'll be a Ram or a Jet, and you don't really get a say. And I don't know if he has a no trade clause actually. Um,
I think he does.
yeah, I would imagine he probably does. And now, finally, even though it's not as appealing as it would have been a few weeks ago, another game we can spend a little bit of time talking about. Jaguars at Colts is a game that is happening. Old man Philip Rivers won our Unk Still Got It this week with a really, honestly, super solid performance against the Niners. Like solid for a regular quarterback, let alone a 44-year-old who hadn't played football in over 5 years coming into last week. That being said, the Jaguars just went into Denver and upset the Broncos. The Jaguars beat the Colts in Jacksonville, as is customary. And I have the Jags winning 38-14.
Yeah, I mean, the Jags over these last 3 to 4 weeks have converted me into a believer. I am now a Jacksonville Jaguars believer. A few weeks ago, I probably would have called it a wild, insane upset. But I've got the Jaguars winning at 34-24. I think that they stay hot. They're getting hot at the right time, and we'll see if they can carry that streak into the playoffs.
And well, speaking of teams that are getting hot at the right time, both of these teams are coming off of wins against. Both of these teams are coming off wins last week, so there's that. It's Saints at Titans, and the Titans just upset the Chiefs in Tennessee. This, I think, would be a genuine upset. We both have this marked in favor of the Saints. We've said it before. We'll say it again. Kellen Moore and Brandon Staley have done a tremendous job taking a team with very limited talent and turning them into a team that actually kind of tries to play football sometimes, especially within their own division. I would not be surprised if the margin of victory on this game were wider than we have it marked at. I have the Saints by a touchdown, 31-24 in Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, this big team is really well built, and the Titans team is not as well coached. And I think that's really all it comes down to. I would put them pretty even in terms of talent on the roster, but I've got the Saints winning 27-20.
And now the only game we disagree on this week. We have a record. We talked about a record 9 disagreements for the Thanksgiving episode, and now for the Christmas episode, we have a record 15 agreements. This is the lone game we disagree on, and I think I gave you the reason for disagreeing on it, but why don't you share that with the viewers?
So this game, we've got the Seahawks going into Carolina. And I've got the Panthers winning this game 30-27. And the reason why is because the Panthers have shown to be the biggest trap team. So much of a trap team that they found themselves in the driver's seat of their division. And when they have shown that when big name teams, when the top dogs come to their house, they have a tendency to flip the script a little bit. And the Seahawks are coming off of a riveting overtime win against the Los Angeles Rams, claiming the division title and the current holder of the 1 seed. Not claiming, but are now in the driver's seat of the most competitive division in the NFL. think that momentum could potentially bite them a little bit, coming off of a really huge high. They did have the Thursday night game, so they've had 3 extra days to prep for this one. But I think that the Panthers are going to pull off the upset in Carolina, 30-27.
Yeah, and I gotta be honest. At this point in the season, it wouldn't surprise me. It would have surprised me pre-Panthers Rams, which I dubbed a "what the fuck" loss to the Panthers for the Rams. But the Panthers have shown that outside of the Saints, they can beat anybody. And I don't see it this week, but my score reflects how good I really think the Panthers are. I have the Seahawks winning 29-28. I would anticipate that if this score specifically were to happen, Carolina probably tries a 2-point conversion on their final drive and fails, or Seattle tries a 2-point conversion and fails on their final drive. I think that this game is going to be a lot closer than most people would have had it coming into the season. If the Panthers win, they claim the NFC South. If the Seahawks win, then a Rams loss and a Niners loss, neither of which we think are terribly likely, would clinch the 1 seed and the NFC, or not the 1 seed, it would clinch the NFC West for Seattle. And actually, it might clinch the 1 seed. If they win and the Rams, the Bears wouldn't have to lose because the Bears are relying on the Seahawks losing out. So a Seahawk win, a Ram, and a Niner loss will clinch the 1 seed for Seattle, as well as the NFC West.
Yeah, I think just a side note, and because I knew it was a thing a year ago, but there are a few players on this Carolina team that know a thing or two about beating the Seattle Seahawks. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ex-Rams on this Carolina team. You've got Austin Corbett on the offensive line, and then most of these defensively with interior linemen, Aton Robinson and Bobby Brown, and then Christian Roseboom at linebacker, and then Nick Scott in the secondary.
Rams legend Christian Roseboom.
No, Rams legend Nick Scott. So if you guys don't know, in the 2021 NFC Championship game, Nick Scott delivered a absolute critical blow on Deebo Samuel over the middle of the field, and he's only 5'9", but when he gets ahead of steam, he can come in like a freight train. But the side note that this Carolina team does hold a lot of ex-Rams on it. They have experience playing the Seattle Seahawks, and we'll see what happens on Sunday. I think that this game very well could have been in the circle game. Was probably more disturbing than the Tank Bowl. But, we'll see what happens on Sunday. This is one I'm excited for.
And a game that I think we're both pretty well less excited for. Lions at Vikings. The NFC North is the only division in football where every team could, theoretically, hold a winning record at the end of the year. It requires the Lions to win one of their final 2 and the Vikings to win out. Which would necessitate a Vikings win this week over Detroit and a Lions win next week over Chicago, who might be resting their starters if they're locked into the 2 seed. But that being said, the Lions are pissed the fuck off. They can still get a wild card slot if the Packers endure a late season slide here and they surge. I have the Lions beating the ever-loving shit out of the Vikings, 38-17. We talked about this last week before the Pittsburgh game. They were already upset about the loss to LA. Now they're upset about the losses to LA and Pittsburgh, and they see a team with a young quarterback and a defense that is not as good as it was billed to be coming into the year. And holy fucking shit, are they going to take their anger out on Minnesota? I have Lions 38-17.
We talked about the Broncos who are going to be pissed at their little brother, but I mean this is even worse. I mean, the Lions, like you said, the Lions are coming off of two very frustrating losses. And little brother Minnesota is just going to get some run of it. I've got them winning it 35-20. I think that could be a little bit generous. I could also see this game being 40-10.
Yeah.
I mean, it could get really ugly, but we'll see what happens on Sunday. But I highly doubt a Lions loss is going to come. And on to our Monday night game. We've got the Los Angeles Rams going into Atlanta. The giver of an additional first-round pick for the Los Angeles Rams in the upcoming draft. Was really hoping for a Falcons loss last week. Unfortunately, didn't get it, but I think I'm going to get it this week. And this one's going to show me how this defense can bounce back. That has been Sean McVay's mantra, has been, okay, how do we respond? The defense has had back-to-back struggling performances. I want to see how this defense responds. And if they let up 3 or more touchdowns to the Falcons, it may continue to give me a lot of worry and concerns about the defense. But I've got the Rams winning 35.
Well, and I have the Rams winning 35-31. I am concerned about this Rams defense. And I am optimistic about the way the Falcons offense looks right now. And I think that the Rams could figure out their defensive issues. But, the word on the Falcons for the last few seasons has been potential, right? Since they drafted Kyle Pitts and Drake London, and now Bijan Robinson as well, it's been potential. The Falcons' defense is a lot better this year. The Falcons are arguably a quarterback and a number 2 receiver away from being true dominant playoff contenders. And Kirk Cousins has been playing good and efficient football. Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and Bijan Robinson all have a tendency to gash defenses, and the Rams are already sliding. And I don't think the Falcons are going to win, but I also wouldn't be terribly surprised if they managed to pull it out. I think it would be a lower scoring game if they did. I think that they'd probably have to rely on their defense. Matt Stafford all but locked up the MVP last week despite the loss with one of the greatest quarterback performances ever, 450 plus yards, a bunch of touchdowns. Arguably could have been the NFC Player of the Week over Puka Nacua. But Nacua accounted for half of Stafford's fucking yards. So there's that.
Yeah.
That being said, I think the Rams will find a much tougher opponent in the Falcons than they would have with Michael Penix. And I think that this is going to be a much closer game than it has any right to be.
Yeah, it very well could be if this Rams continues to struggle defensively. But that does it for all of our picks for this upcoming week in the NFL. Of course, thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said at the beginning, happy holidays. This is Christmas week, and there's nothing I love more than football on Christmas Day. It really is just something to love. But thank you guys so much for watching. All of our medias, our Instagram, our X account, our TikTok will all be linked in the description. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this virtual edition of Any Given Sunday. And we will see you all next week.
Hi.